Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swaggle. I hope you guys are having a great start to your week. And in this video, we got to do a little bit of a market report. That is right, because we are just one day away from the premiere of Secret Invasion. Can you guys believe it? I can't, because I feel like nobody in the comic book market, nobody in the pop cultural market has really been talking all that much about Secret Invasion. And for that reason, that's kind of the comic book news that I actually want to dig into in this video here today. The fact that this is going to be the first Disney Plus show since it has started that is actually going to have no spec FOMO going into it. But before I get into the video, if you guys could drop me a like, comment, subscribe if you're enjoying the content, help support the channel, doing those things, I appreciate it. But let's get into this video here today. Now, I want to go through kind of Secret Invasion. Obviously, it's coming out tomorrow. Talk a little bit about some of the books out there that relate to the property. And, you know, we can kind of go through this and look at some of the spec stuff that has been moving. Now, obviously, there's books like FF2, First Appearance of Super Skrull, some of those Silver Age keys that are related to the Skrulls that have had maybe some movement, some interest out there in the market, but not enough to, you know, kind of talk about, or not enough to really point to as being influenced by the fact that this show is about to come out. And then later on in the video, I also want to talk a little bit about the Kraven movie and the Kraven trailer that has had some movement in the market. But of course, you guys know Secret Invasion. This is going to be the first Disney Plus MCU show that we are going to get this year. This is the first one since really She-Hulk. I mean, we've had the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, and we've had the Werewolf by Night kind of Halloween special, but those were, you know, those kind of one-off, one-shot things. This is the first series we're actually going to get. And even if you go back to She-Hulk, there was still some hype for spec books going into that show in the comic book market. Now, we've talked a lot about, you know, the current macro environment and how that has affected the nature of the values and the speculation going on in comics. But it is still interesting to think about this because even other properties, say Ant-Man or Into the Spider-Verse, has still caused some movement out there in the comic book market. But it seems like Secret Invasion is really just, you know, going past all comic book collectors. Granted, a lot of these books have been looked at for so long that how many more possible new buyers could there be for a Secret Invasion #1? Well, apparently not that many, because here we are a day before the release of the show. And, you know, you just go in here to the sales for this book, and it's really not that good. In fact, right here, sold June 20 of 2023, we have a CGC 9.8 with a slash price, no less. Excuse me as I lose my control right here. A CGC 9.8 with a slash price of only $64. That is bottom of the barrel values right there for this book, where if we go into, you know, the market report for this at the CGC 9.8 level, this was a book that once upon a time was selling at that $300 range. Now, where it is selling, slash price 65, fixed price of 55, essentially is the cost of the slab itself and maybe a book that you would find for $10. I mean, it's currently selling less than at previous points in time, like say January of 2019, where this was still a $100 key. That is pretty crazy to see how basically uninterested people are in this comic book. Now, I'm not here to say that the floor value of Secret Invasion should be like whatever, $200 or anything like that. But generally speaking, what you have seen as recently as Across the Spider-Verse is that when the property comes out, there is still some interest. There are people that are, you know, still buying books out there in the market. And even if it is a temporary inflation, you do see the book inflated out there in the secondary market. And for Secret Invasion 1, that doesn't seem to be the case. Now, again, there's some caveats here because Secret Invasion as a brand, as a title brand, you know, these books are rarely ever that valuable or that popular. Even books like Infinity Gauntlet that relate to Infinity Wars eventually have a cooling off period, eventually have pullbacks, eventually have corrections. These are not necessarily long-term books, but you would still think that there would be some people interested in this type of property. But, you know, based on what we're seeing out there selling the market, there's really just not that many moving. And we are, you know, less than 24 hours away from the show. Now, I do think that there are some books that are interesting to talk about that could pop off in the comic book market. And this will have to be, you know, kind of the big test that we'll see when we get into the show, is if some of these books that are quote unquote the surprise books or the surprise appearances have any movement out there in the space. So for instance, a book like Secret War #2, which is the first appearance of Quake. Now, if you guys remember Quake, she was played by Daisy Ridley in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show, and it's been rumored that she's going to be showing up in the Secret Invasion show as well. And so a lot of people might jump on this book. And this is one of those ones that I could see having a huge pump in the market if, say, she reveals herself as a cliffhanger in episode number 3 or number 4 or whatever, it might get a temporary lift. Now, just some other books to point out related to this show is, of course, Meet the Skrulls #1. This is the first appearance of a Skrull named Gaia. A lot of people think that Emily Clark might be playing this character. This is another one that, again, kind of holding around that $15 price point, but not a lot of FOMO, not a lot of speculation for this right now. It could be that, when we get the show and they name drop Emilia Clarke as like Gaia, or she has some, Skrull face reveal, maybe we'll see movement for this book in the market. But currently, we just aren't really seeing any kind of hype for any of these types of books. Another one right here, Incredible Hulk number 418. This is the first appearance of Talos. We know Talos is going to make an appearance in this show, but this book has really just never caught on in the comic book market. Nobody, I think, is really that invested in Talos, and I don't necessarily think this is a book that, is ever going to go to the moon. In fact, there's so many out there. Once you got to 1994, there's a lot of copies in those backbins for this one. So, hard to sell above that $5 price point on the live action bid. Now, last couple books to talk about and keep our eye on is this one right here, New Avengers number 40, first appearance of Varenki. This is a book that has fallen off tremendously. A lot of people had been speculating that Varenki was going to make an appearance in this show, and I think that this is probably the best example of the severe lack of interest in Secret Invasion amongst comic book speculators and comic book buyers. This book right here is absolutely in the gutter right now. It seems like nobody is interested in the Queen Skrull character. And then the last one, of course, is Astonishing X-Men number 6, first appearance of Abigail Brand. And this is another one that has really, really fallen off in the market. You can see right here, a 9.6, 14 bids, $19.52. I mean, basically, the person who sent it into CGC is essentially losing money at that point. This is less than it would take for you to actually get your book graded to have made this purchase on the first appearance of Abigail Brown, who, again, is being speculated that might be who Emilia Clarke is playing. You can see a 9.4 selling at the buy it now for around the $40 range. And another book that has fallen off quite a lot here at the 9.8 level, where remember, this is not only the Abigail Brand thing, but this is also the first appearance of Sword. And during the time of WandaVision, this was a book selling at that $300 level, pushing the $400 level. And now you can't even really give it away, where the auction at the 9.8 is finishing at the $114 spot. So definitely interesting to see that, and again, this is something that, we've talked about on the channel many times before. It probably has a lot to do with, yes, the lack of interest in this show, yes, the superhero fatigue, or whatever you want to call it. But, more importantly, what I always talk about here is the macroeconomic environment, where all of the money, all of the pool of liquidity in the comic book market is going to, the better keys, the older books, the vintage stuff, or even, the super rare variants in the modern era. I mean, there's just not enough money to keep a 9.8 Astonishing X-Men 6 elevated to the $300 price point. There's just too many books out there, too many sellers, that there's just not going to be enough people to constantly keep those books inflated, no matter how hype the show actually is. But I do think it is very telling that here in Secret Invasion, there seems to be, no hype at all. Last little thing to talk about before I wrap it up here, just because this trailer did come out just the other day, is of course the Kraven trailer, which, a lot of the comic book market, has come out against this thing. Not even the casual superhero fan was into this trailer. I mean, after I saw it, I don't know, it just felt like another Sony movie to me. I mean, what did we actually expect? Did we actually expect this movie to be any good? If anything, I'll at least give it some props to the fact that it's a little bit refreshing to see a superhero movie trailer that seemed to be filmed on location a lot. It wasn't an overblown green screen fest. But with that being said, we did see a few sales related to the movie. Of course, at the end of the trailer, we got the tease of a rhinoceros. A lot of people in the comic book market thinking, of course, that means Rhino. ASM number 41, the first appearance of Rhino. And we actually saw a handful of sales, about 7 or so. Seem to move on the secondary market, which again is not a tremendous amount, but that would be more than what you would see in a normal day or a normal week, or maybe this would be a book that would sell, once every couple of days or so. But we did see a decent amount sell, and actually a few sell before the trailer, which, I think that has to do with the leaks of this particular trailer, which came out, before the official one did. So maybe 10 sales, which is a testament to some of the hype level, unlike that of Secret Invasion. Similarly for Amazing Spider-Man number 15, first appearance of Kraven. We didn't see as many movement out there in the market, although this is a book that is sort of hard to FOMO buy, simply due to the fact that, basically at every grade, it's, pushing that 4-figure level. And then the last one that did move quite a lot in the market is ASM 209, first appearance of Calypso. We did actually see her in the trailer, and I think that made this book move enough out there in the comic book market where you will probably see it on some of the trending lists this week. Again, another book at one point that was very hot out there in the secondary market, but has fallen off a lot because of the fact that it is a Copper Age book, and there's just not going to be enough money to keep it elevated. Anyways, that's all I got for this video. That was me kind of talking about, the current lack of interest, lack of hype for Secret Invasion. Now, I know you guys are thinking, some of you out there might be excited about the show. I'm definitely still going to watch it. I won't hold my breath to see if it actually ends up being good, but I do think that it's interesting that in prior movies, prior shows, we still have seen a lot of books move in correlation to those properties, even if they weren't reviewed well. And I think that is interesting to see that here at Secret Invasion, seemingly the comic book market finally does not care anymore about these Disney Plus shows. Anyways, what do you guys think about this? What do you guys think about this news? Are you guys excited for Secret Invasion? Are you guys excited for the Kraven movie? Let me know in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe. See you all in the next video.